Ah, finally. Back for episode 19. I think we're almost done with Rebecca's storyline. It has been a while, plus I still have 2 more people to go. Holy shit. But anyways, yes, we had the party. And then, it's back. We need to get some information about the Ermengarde mansion, so we need to go to the library. As much as I hate to admit it, there's always something people censor, and whatever it is, I won't find it. It has to be what they're keeping here beyond the public eye. The thought of that alone makes me antsy. Thankfully, I don't have to brood over it. The wait for the professor doesn't last long. He never did enjoy making people wait. He arrives 5 minutes after I do, greeting me with that kind smile and casual wave of his hand. I haven't seen him in so long, it appears he hasn't changed much. His familiar presence alone is enough for a fond smile to spread across my face.
Rebecca, didn't I say long ago you can drop the professor?
You know I can't possibly do that. Even if I can, it feels disrespectful to call you by your name alone.
Both you and Ashton never listen to this old man. Kids these days.
All right. But just for today, since you're doing me a huge favor, Andrew.
I guess you simply can't have it all, even at this old age. But pleasantries aren't what we're here for, yes? You mentioned you needed a permit.
Yes, sir, if that's okay with you.
More than fine. Anything in pursuit of knowledge, as they say.
He hands me the permit without further prompting. And just like he promised, he's also written a recommendation after his signature. This is more than enough to get me to those files. No matter a small thanks before slipping it into my pocket. Although, when I look back up, his brows are furrowed in the very face of curiosity. No, not surprising considering how vague I've been during our little talk over the phone. Right then and there, I've decided to tell him if he ever asks. Maybe not all of it, but stuff he needs to know. It's the least I can do to thank him. As expected, true to his inquisitive nature,
he asks. You don't mind, though. I know you've always been an eager learner. But may I know what in the restricted section that piqued your curiosity?
It's the Ermengarde mansion, sir.
He's quick to raise an eyebrow at that, and for a while I fear he'll take the slip of paper back. Is there something in what I said?
The ones they have out in the general isn't enough?
I'm, hoping for a more in-depth read, sir. More about the history and the people who once lived there. The general section doesn't have anything much on that.
Oh, I see. Well, you certainly aren't the first one to be enamored with that place. It doesn't shock me. The architecture is admirable, and the urban legends are something to talk about. Why, just this past week, I've got a few asking me about that. Imagine that.
I think enamored might be a little too much to describe our interest in it. But I have to agree. The mansion is beautiful, even with the renovations. They kept the stained glass windows, too. They are magnificent.
Oh, you've seen it.
I was there for a few hours to attend a housewarming party. The invitation was for my parents, but they couldn't make it. My mum used to work as a private tutor for the Evans. Hannah Wright?
Ah, I know of her. Her husband, too. Who doesn't? Luxbourne's most popular couple.
Something falls behind his eyes, the warmth in them suddenly gone, like he's reliving a painful distant memory, seeing it play right out in front of him. Disappears almost as soon as it surfaces, but that look has unsettled something in me.
Is something the matter?
Nothing much. But you know, you're already like a daughter to me. So if you could, do be careful with the friends you make.
Is this about the rights, sir?
Just a friendly advice from an old man. Don't think much about it. Anyway, I have to leave now. Can't miss my weekly serving of bear claws. Say hi to your parents at the detective inspector for me, will you? I wish you luck with all that research.
I will. Thanks for this, Andrew.
Andrew gives me my shoulder a light squeeze, the gesture a young me has always appreciated, and quickly crosses the street after. I watch him until he disappears behind the door to a cafe, until the doubt swimming inside my head finds a moment to rest. Whatever his business is with the rights isn't anything I should concern myself about. But somehow, in the grand scheme of things now, all of it feels oddly relevant. The how, though, I've yet to find out. I'm hoping the library will give me the answers I want this time. On a gloomy Sunday morning, the library is especially, oh my god, second floor in particular. I've always considered this place to be a sanctuary, a respite away from the hubbub of the city. As a child, I grew up reading books here, spending hours here to no end, poring over the pages, living out fantasies in my head until my parents called me home. Now it feels nothing like it. The silence is smothering, suffocating. Even with how clean they've kept the microfiche room, how the entire small of it lacks a speck of dust. Not far into my stay, I begin to long for the noise outside. Perhaps as a way to calm this unease, I start to hum a tune. Imagine that. Why of all things has to be the silly nursery rhyme? I'm not an inkling. It does its job, however. It fills the lull with something far less awkward, far less deafening that is enough for a distraction. I have business here. No time for silly daydreams, only important work to attend to. Even if there's a possibility of it being fruitless, by some means it feels like I have to do it. If not for me, then for the people who have been affected by this, what do we even call this? A haunting? A Halloween prank gone wrong? A curse? If Isabella were here, what would she say? Will she panic? Will she be angry I only listen to her now? It all stems from that one moment in the movie house, doesn't it? We could have avoided this had we only taken her warnings to heart. One stupid mistake is all it took to send our normal lives into a spiral. Frankly, I'm no longer sure if I'm angry at myself for or at the universe for throwing us into this mess. But we can only make do of what little we have, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Going here might not be the right decision, but it's a start.
A good start.
It doesn't take much time for me to find what I need. A microfiche of old newspapers long kept in special storage cabinets at the far end of the restricted section. The year is 1620s and beyond. Before the city of Luxborn even exists in the records, when the mansion had just been built and Anselm was nothing but more than a small sleepy hamlet near a river. A lot of pieces are missing. Days, sometimes several consecutive weeks without any records remain. Often it goes on for years. Troublesome, but as it is, I'm lucky enough to find anything at all, consider how far I'm looking back. Can't be picky now. Can't waste time mulling over what record keepers of the old could have done to make this a breeze for me.
I can still work with this.
The faint whir of the microfiche machine keeps me company as I go over each slide, each image, hoping for something that goes beyond what the local lore knows. There are snippets, little mentions of the family that once settled in the house here and there. The usual singings of praises for the couple who had brought up the house on once tiny settlement into a buzzing town. Nothing substantial, nothing I didn't know before. It continues on like this for a good while, until I come by the years after their deaths. The people of Anselm might have loved Lord William and Lady Elizabeth Ermengarde, mourned their passing, and held them in high esteem in the years after. But it was their daughter that was remembered fondly by the townspeople. If her parents built this town, Lady Charlotte was the one who made it prosper. Remarkable, considering it was a period of recovering from a bout of plague that killed half the town's population, including her parents. What's surprisingly, though, apparently her time also marked more than superficial changes to the place. She moved things, changed laws, altered old customs and traditions. If they were done on a woman's whims, doesn't say, but she seems capable enough to more than that. The gist of it is, the town she rebuilt is what eventually grew to become Luxborn City, while the nearby Anselm village remains as it was. Frown swiftly forms in my face.
So, why is there a need to hide this?
One by one, I try to recall every lesson I've gone through, every book, paper, and journal I've read. None of those ever mentioned this. It's always the lord and the lady of the house, their endearing child, always an afterthought stuck to their antidotes, the one who always took her life in the end. Never someone who restored a town from the brink of collapse or brought new ideas to it. Is it because she's a woman?
That pisses me off.
Granted, not everything is sunshine and rainbows. Not all aspects of her can be considered admirable. But this is history. Some parts are bound to naturally delve into unpleasant territory, whether I like it or not. Witch hunts, for example, became common near the end of her life, which would have been completely unremarkable and might have gone to become a mere footnote in history if it didn't involve Lady Charlotte and the very slaves she saved. Caused quite a stir, enough to leave almost a week's worth of clippings. The girl was eventually burned, condemned by an entire town. At the word of Lady Charlotte alone. But this doesn't really have anything to do with this curse, does it? Unless that woman following us and this slave are the same person. A tale of revenge? How cliche. However, with the lack of accurate photographs, it's impossible to tell. Maybe if I squint, the illustration would start resembling her, but in my field, it doesn't work that way. It shouldn't work that way. I'll be the laughingstock of the community.
This isn't going anywhere.
Mentally exhausted, I take a careful step away from the screen, pressing a palm to my tired eyes. The lack of ample light in this area doesn't help. A headache already threatens to form at the back of my head, yet I'm nowhere near figuring things out. This is simply too much to take in all at once.
I should have asked for someone's help.
Now I'm at a dead end. I start gathering everything around me and placing them back in their respective envelopes for storage. The motion's no longer new after volunteering here after a number of times. I didn't make much mess anyway, considering the lack of materials available to begin with. I'll have to look somewhere else. The where remains unknown, though. But just as I'm about to slip the last of the slides in, something catches my attention. My hand pauses, the microfiche halfway through its protective sleeve. This is one of the few I've set aside without taking a careful look at. It seems like a gossip column at first glance, but upon a closer look, I slide it back to the reader, gently turning the dials in search of the page. It takes some time, but once the image becomes clear, they must have had this drawing commissioned for their announcement. I don't doubt it. Details are far more intricate, their likeliness likely closer to how they might have appeared at the time. They're both recognizable this way, closer to those paintings I've seen in the mansion. However, it's the man standing beside her, Edouard Godfrey, according to the article, that caught my attention previously. Her first cousin and eventually her fiancé. Maybe it's the posture, the manner in which he holds himself. Or maybe it's the shape of his eyes, though I can't be too certain about that until I've gotten a better reference. Nevertheless, there is a resemblance. He looks eerily like... My head snaps up, glaring at whoever's running in the floor above. Any day I'd march upstairs and reprimand whoever it is.
This is a library, for heaven's sake.
But now isn't the time. I've gotten what I need. Without wasting another minute, I hit the machine's print button for a copy of the page, while my other hand moves to put everything back into storage. A ragged exhale slips from me. Relief, perhaps? Or maybe this is already exhaustion. Regardless, soon I'm closing my eyes as I wait for the printer to finish, only to stave off the headache building up from everything. Sometime I even began humming the same song again for comfort, despite my doubts about this, despite all the tension in my shoulders. This may be a small find, but at least I can start somewhere. Don't open my eyes. We can start somewhere. There's a way out of this. I know it. The printer sputters to a halt. However, its sound isn't what is making me snap my eyes open. Yeah, a feeling, a chilly brush, brief enough for something sickening to suddenly lodge itself in my throat while I take in my surroundings. It's that suffocating sensation again, creeping to every part of me, crawling under my skin, draining me little by little of any strength. From that day in the mansion, from that brief moment at the school, Without delay, I grab the papers and make a quick beeline for the door. My whole body freezes.
What are you doing, Miss Pink?
I hold my breath, not daring to make any noise. For a little while, only the sound of papers crumpling under my grasp fills the room. The excitement from earlier gone instantly, replaced by a cold, seeping dread spreading throughout my limbs. But more than the fear is the anger. It pains me to hear her using my own student's voice against me, and more than once I believed it was really her. She has no right.
Why don't you play with me?
So I'm gonna beat the shit out of her in this library, right? Although she hasn't made a move, if there isn't a wall behind me, I'd probably take a step back. Anything to put a distance between us, no matter how small, as long as I'm out of her reach. But I steel myself, because if I do fall back, turn away from her, I'll be left with no way out. I am not dying here.
You think you scare me?
Miss Pink, don't be so rude. I'm waiting.
I'm not afraid of you, you spook! This is one Scotswoman. You aren't getting into an early grave without a fight!
Oh damn, you can hear it.
Come at me!
I expected she'll lunge, prove to me what a monster she is. Instead, all she gives me is a smile, twisted and gnarled. It's as if time has crawled to a stop at the sight of it. A split-second decision. Before I know it, my body shifts. Eyes closing in anticipation, hand grabbing whatever's solid enough on the nearby table and hurling it at her. I don't bother looking if whatever I threw hits its mark. I run as fast as my legs can carry me, despite my heart threatening to burst out of my chest. But in this maze of bookshelves, with the whole place almost void of people, is there even a safe enough place? You head for the door. You don't head upstairs. You don't want to go higher and higher up. Just head for the door. There's one. It's out of this room, out of this place, as far away as anyone can get from her. Think about the rest of what I can do after I'm outside, when there are other people I can ask for help. When she's not chasing after me like this. There's no hesitation in my steps as I race for the restricted section's door, head downstairs and barrel straight to the library's exit. Towards safety in a desperate bid for my life. Library rules be damned. I can no longer hear her behind me, but I'm not taking any chances. A breath almost escapes me as I near the door. A little more. When out of nowhere, a library cart careens from a blind corner, slams to my sides. Oh. My back hits the floor with a hard thud, the impact completely knocking the breath out of me. Copper tang of blood gradually spreads over my tongue as I fight to keep my bearings back. I force myself to move. This is the end of her story. Even with excruciating pain coursing through my limbs, the exit's almost there. If only I can. There's no moment's respite. Next thing I know, there's a heavy weight atop of me and cold digits slide around my neck, tight like a vice, pressing cold in, leaving me gasping for air. Through my blurred vision, I can only make out the hateful gleam spite in her eyes as she looms over my body and her grip on my throat grows tighter. Desperation kicks in. My nails dig into her wrist as I struggle against her firm grip, trying to pry her fingers away.
Let go.
Give me my quick time.
Let me go.
Give me my quick time. Keep it within the slider. Okay. Oh, okay. Too strong. Her hold on me is too strong. Okay, well, you didn't even slide the slider, so... Is that it? My lungs begin to ache, burning with the lack of air, the pain growing worse with every second I writhe under her punishing grip.
Somebody help me.
Well, I fucked up. Hey, you remember that? Darkness starts to fill the edges of my vision. Well, I fucked up. Soon as the world fades, and soon the world fades. Okay, we'll try this again. Okay. keep the bar. Oh, okay. Nope. Oh, come on. By moving the mouse. I'm trying. Trying real hard. No. Not today. Not today. You may have killed me twice already. Come on. Yeah, smack her with that book. I don't think twice. My limbs are moving on their own before what I did could fully register in my brain. My limbs could recover. Behind me, she lets out a cry, sharp, loud, and thunderous against the empty walls of the library. The fear her wails bring compare nothing to the relief washing over me when I finally make it out. My knees buckle as soon as my feet hits the pavement, surface cold and hard against my skin. I've only been in there for a few hours, about 1 or 2 probably. I don't know anymore. It feels like an eternity all the same. My breathing hasn't slowed down yet, and I don't expect it to after going through that. I probably look like the most undignified creature on a Sunday morning right now, out of breath, disheveled, slumped here, and bloodied up. But at present, I simply can't bring myself to care, even when a few passersby start giving me strange looks. Stare at me all you want. I don't give a single shit. I'm alive. I'm safe. This isn't the end yet, but I'm safe. And inside my bag is something that could get us out of this mess. Nothing definite yet. I don't want to get my hopes up, but it's still something. If Isabella is here, I'm sure she'll feel the same. She'll even be the first one. Whenever this will lead us in victory on its own. Now all that's left is to find the others, the rest of us trapped in this bloody nightmare. Right on cue, as if in answer to my previous thought, my mobile phone lets out a beep, and I pick it up, simply hoping it'll be one of them. Only it's a voicemail that greets me. From Ashton. There's a pang of disappointment, of course, but it brings some reassurance that nothing's happened to at least one of them.
Hey, Becca, call me back when you're free. We need to talk. ASAP.
He ends it right there, the message less than a minute long, curt, and gives nothing away. I let it ease my worries regardless and do as he asks. Because this too is another triumph for us. One less thing to worry about. Ooh, moving on to Ashton. Parties have never been really my thing. They're always such a hassle and take so much time off my day. Prior plans and commitments cancel, all for the sake of playing along with others.
Welcome everyone.
I hated them even as a child.
Please make yourselves at home.
So we're just starting straight from the party, huh? But Mom often insisted she'd slick my hair back, put me in one of those stuffy dinner jackets, and if there were any children around, urged me to make friends. Never mind how utterly loud or tedious it was all for the sake of keeping up appearances. To some extent, lies have already surrounded me long before I've chosen what I wanted to do with my life. Luckily, there was an easy ways to tune everything out, and much to my mom's frustration, I always managed to sneak my CD player along. I kept to myself and to my music and my own little world until I learned to observe. It's a simple matter of awareness, really. And for someone with keen eyes, a skewed necktie or a simple flick of wrist alone could tell volumes about a person. I still don't like parties, especially ones as big as fancy as a Wright's housewarming. However, when there's actual reason to go to them, I figure they're not too bad.
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
Besides, like it or not, it's all part of the job. I'm here on a mission. One that has the name Luke Wright plastered all over it. You'd think the man would want to remain inconspicuous after his name was linked to several high-profile crimes across Luxembourg. Granted, most of it has gone cold over the years, having stagnated without any lead or evidence, but that still doesn't make him any less suspect. Yet here he is, throwing a party in his own backyard. Although having observed the man this past year, I'm not even shocked. He craves it, the damn spotlight, constantly yearns for the attention like a neglected puppy. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that he's nowhere to be found in his own party. That's not the problem here. What pisses me off is how far his reach extends, how close he has creeped into the lives of the people I care about. Again, like a stubborn itch you couldn't be rid of. First Professor Clark, then there's Isabella. I also spotted Z-Man here a while ago, and now there's also Rebecca.
Can't you at least act with a bit more shame?
Becca, if I find a single scratch on Shirley, there will be hell to pay.
There will also be hell to pay if he so much as harms a hair on either Zach or Rebecca's head. Worrying about Isabella's brief dealings with him is stressing in itself already. I doubt he'll attempt anything in front of other people, though. It would tarnish his glorious reputation, and his values appearances more than anything. That doesn't necessarily mean he isn't capable of it, more than, in fact, and on the off chance he does something, I wouldn't be responsible for my actions.
Those guys know what they're doing. They're handling cars worth more than your precious Shirley.
For Zachary's and Rebecca's sake, however, I really hope this'll simply be another housewarming party, even though something tells me it's anything but. Call it a detective's intuition or whatever. When Luke Wright's involved, nothing good has ever come out of it. I can't let my guard down here. Even more so when a familiar car slows to a stop and out comes.
Chief?
Presence here might be odd at best, but I have an excuse, one that this man handed to me himself a year ago, along with a heavy dose of flattery with the newly promoted... whatever. Can't exactly say the same for good old boss, can I? Yeah, why is Chief here? Although to see him here, though, chatting it up with Luxborn's rich and famous isn't such a big surprise in itself, no disrespect meant. What is surprising is the fact that he seems all too eager to mingle with a person of interest's wife. Just what the hell is he doing here?
Ashton, what's...
Sorry, Becca, I just saw someone I need to catch up with. Longtime friend.
What the shit is going on here?
Oh, wait, Ash, what about...
This won't be long. Be careful while I'm gone, okay?
Hey, be careful! About what exact...
I don't want to draw attention to myself either, at least not until he's given me proper reason to spoil his little party.
Thank you for the invite, Anna. Husband still missing, I see?
I should be saying the same of your darling Rochelle, Lee. The doctors again?
For now, the best I can do is wait and remain inconspicuous, especially with Chief here, whose motives are dubious at best. If it means having to pretend I don't know Zach or Rebecca or force myself to rub elbows with people I barely know, let alone like, then so be it. Can't involve anyone. Wandering is out of the question as well, when there's our guards and civvies stationed here. Sure, getting past them is something I could do with ease, but I'd rather not right now, when I'm one of the few snooping and roaming about. It'd be best to try and do so once there's a crowd of people. And if their interior designers' drunken claims are to be believed...
Yes, well, what about Luke? Should we file a missing persons report now, or do you want to wait 24 hours?
He's around.
You know, I can tell if someone's bluffing.
It'll all come to how well I'll play my cards tonight. With a good hand, this party is going to give me the breakthrough I need to crack Luke Wright, or something to prove my suspicions wrong, maybe find out what kind of game my boss is also playing. I've had an inkling before, a few hunches tempered down by how much of a bumbling fool the man appears. But one does not simply deal with the Wrights and get invited to a party they host without wanting anything from either of the two. Or it's the other way around. So, with a last wary glance at the two, I head into the ballroom. I just hope this will not complicate things further. Shit. By the time the party's in full swing, night has fallen. The man can be quite... I don't even know how many hors d'oeuvres I've already stuffed my face with. One too many, probably. The servers are already giving me a stink eye every time I saunter over to the buffet table. Blame your employer, not me. He's the one who has the guts to show up late. Besides, most of the guests' idle talk is concentrated in this area, despite standing under the same roof with the very people they're whispering about. Some just couldn't resist. I might as well keep an ear out for any
Is
useful
Suarez still
information.
fixing that tech problem? Tech problem?
It's been 3 years. Sooner or later, the Blighter will put 2 and 2 together.
He might have already.
If the red tape I'm being slammed with these past few months suggests anything, that or someone has been pulling the strings. I wouldn't be shocked this case could have gone this long if Scumbag didn't have a meal of some kind in the force.
Shush you, we all know Suarez just wants an out.
I knew he was bad news the day the merger with Evans Incorporated happened. Feh.
Glad I did not have to deal with that.
But keep it down, someone might hear. The wife especially.
This kind of negligence has always been an advantage, but sometimes I wish I could be smashed drunk while doing this. Having sharp ears also means you get to hear the most unsavory things. Who cheated on who this week, one person's motive for bashing someone's skull against the wall, or a father's excuse for burning his own daughter alive, that sort of stuff. After a few years it gets tiring, you get desensitized to it. But humans can also be downright awful. Sometimes there simply isn't enough brain bleach in the world. Sadly, the wine is a no-go tonight, and mostly for show. I'm up for another drive later for one, and I definitely want to be sober in case anything comes up. Something always comes up. A detective inspector dying of cardiac arrest? Because I can feel the moment my heart grinds to a halt the second I shift my eyes to a corner of the ballroom.
Hannah Wright.
Some will say I'm acting a touch big paranoid. Maybe I am. This is a party. She's the hostess. It goes to say that she'd take time to mingle with her guests. But Hannah Wright, nay Evans, isn't without her fair share of accolades. At least to the public, she doesn't seem like it. Unlike her husband, she's the one with the business sense, not to mention the impressive track record needed to manage a company. Or effectively hiding whatever irregularity there might be. She's clean as far as my agents and I have found, but it doesn't rule out possible involvement with whatever her husband's up to. Hell, Luke Wright came out clean in previous reports until I bothered to take a deeper look into it. What I found may not be sufficient to bring anyone to trial yet, but it's enough to nurture suspicion. This may be a bit of an overreaction, but no one lasts long in my line
You
of
would
work.
catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
Nothing to be worried about then. She's probably even more careful with appearances than her own husband, having grown up with the spotlight focused on her. Yet even knowing that, the anxiety stays, has been there since the party started. I've brushed it off earlier, who wouldn't feel edgy, right? I've gone undercover in a party hosted by the very person I'm investigating. That in itself is risky and plenty of rooms for error. Usually, though, the tension passes around the first hour or so. I've been trained to remain composed in situations like this. However, with each second I spend here, it only grows heavier and seeks to overwhelm. An odd feeling that someone is watching me instead. It's been like this since last week, but I should already be used to this. People would be looking at me, no matter how small or big of a blip I am on their radar. That's what they do in these things. But when the feeling of eyes burning in the back lingers longer than necessary, I've been looking around every now and then to catch the culprit. No luck. And despite my efforts to push the sensation as far down as I could, tiny pinpricks continue to sting the back of my head, and the ghost of a cold touch creeps up my limbs, till my gaze switches back to Rebecca and Hannah Wright. She stands there, dark hair and dirty, sticking out there like a sore thumb. Even so, no one seems to notice. Although she's looking away from me, her mere existence here strikes. Disturbs. A sense of tunnel vision binds while I still stand still stalking and gape at her like my life depends on making sure she stays there. I feel trapped in her presence until another guest bumped into me, yanking me out of my stupor. Only then do I realize that I've been holding my breath. Before I could figure out what happened, she's gone. Quick scan of the room yields no sign of her. The party continues as if nothing's amiss. I'm not really one to judge, but I'm sure someone like that would have not been allowed in a fancy thing like this. What has the security been doing? Are they really that incompetent for someone so distinct to easily get in without notice? There should have been an outcry by now, particularly by the host. She's been standing almost an arm's length away from the woman, and yet she simply continues her talk with her Rebecca.
Oh, the professor! And your little Becky!
My parents couldn't make it since they're in Scotland right now. And Mom says hi, by the way.
Is there something in the food that starting to see things that could happen the one though? Every bit so ready to step out of the car. The hors d'oeuvre? But why would anyone want to do that? Why would Luke Red want to do that? He's fishy, but I couldn't see why he'd think it'd be a good idea to lace the food he'd serve in his party with someone like Chief Lee on his guest list to boot. He has been linked to narcotics trade, yep, however, that kind of tactic is below him, that much I can tell. Unless there's a mass murder waiting to happen here tonight, which I highly doubt. So...
What the fuck was that?
Yeah. There's no time to look deeper into this, even if I want to. Not when a telling silence comes upon the room and draws everyone's attention on the main doors of the ballroom.
About damn time.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Enjoying the party? I hope I'm not too late in welcoming you all to the Wright Mansion.
I've been tailing this guy for a while now. Before that, I heard stories from previous officers who tackled this case, none of them which are pleasant. Mind, I'm not counting the incident with Professor Clark yet. Pleasant is glossing over the gravity of things. I want to know what him and Mr. Clark happened to. Well, Wright's good at covering whatever shady stuff he's doing. He's shown to be a really rotten guy. At least, that's the case when he thinks none of his peers are around to judge him. I've lost track of how many counts of verbal abuse and harassment cases the guy could be pinned with. Fuck, he can even be trying to move on Isabella's back in the open house right in front of his wife. Standing in the same room as him doesn't make me want to punch him any less. Actually, the urge is stronger, but protocol's my case. First and foremost, my own opinion of the man shouldn't get ahead of my purpose here. If I want to put him in his place, it should be in a court, with all proper charges filed against him. And I'll only be able to do that once I gather enough evidence to pin this bastard down.
Welcome, one and all, to our humble abode. Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are our ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen, if you would excuse my presumptuousness. So, enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone!
Suppressing my annoyance, I prepare to step away from the crowd. Amidst the cheers and claps, now is a good time as any to move, trying to find that something the McCullough woman talked about. In the first place, I have no plans to actually shake hands with the slime ball himself. A fake smile is plastered on my face while I pretend to listen to one of the other guests gossiping about him. All while slowly inching out of the ballroom. Fortunately, before I can get any further...
Are you feeling ill, Rochelle? Perhaps you need to sit down and...
Rich people only have two ways to resolve their mess. Either they quietly deal with it behind closed doors, or they create an even greater problem out of it and it just blows up in everyone's face, one way or another. Fun.
No! Shut it, you monster! I ain't talking to you! I'm talking to this scumbag over here! You bloody bastard standing there with your smarmy smile!
Not even a few seconds in, and I already think this is proving itself to be a big public spectacle. I spend money on a television to buy daytime soap operas. You could just go to one of these parties and see the action unfold in real life. You get free food, too. Really, if I were an actual guest, I'd just take this as some sordid form of amusement.
Watch your tongue! You're on thin ice, Rochelle. Where's your husband? Who even invited you?
But I'm not a guest who's here for a good time. I need to focus on him, even though this whole sorry tale. So I wait, I listen, I observe. Interesting, isn't it, though, that the chief's inspector's wife. Oh, okay, next day. So what did I find out? Oh, I took Rebecca home. The morning after starts off quiet. Even the whole of Salem Well residents seem unusually still. The open hallway when I step out is devoid of tenants, no sound coming from the others. It's almost as if something's brewing on the horizon. A peaceful night's sleep still does wonders for the mood, though. Can't even remember the last time I slept without anything urgent interrupting. It's a nice break from all the bad news lately. If it wasn't for the insistent buzzing in my pocket waking me up, I'd sleep in. The ringing has stopped before I can move somewhere private, but sleep has also been effectively kicked out of my system. Pity, I could use a little more rest until I have to face the other storm. Of course, I owe Rebecca an explanation. It doesn't matter if it's the whole truth or another hastily spun tale. Although I haven't really figured out how to go about this yet. Unlike Zach and Isabella, who don't usually ask questions and are content with what little I could share, Rebecca's rather quick on the trigger. It'll have to be set aside for later, though.
Sup, I'm Ash from Deluxe City.
The chief's name stares back at me, almost as if it's mocking me. Sad. It would have been nice to just chill after last night, or maybe half listen to the news. Sure, it's the same thing we've been hearing lately. Still beats standing outside in the chilly Luxborn morning on the phone with my boss. Sighing, I answer, if only to get this over with.
Where are you right now?
Now that's a tone I didn't expect from him at this hour. Just thinking how this will go already gives me a headache. Immediately I reach up, pitch the bridge of my nose to stave it off.
This is why I won't ever drink myself senseless.
What was that?
Nothing, Chief. A pleasant morning to you too.
He's probably calling a rag on me or complaining about his wife, which is really none of my business unless it affects my case. Seems like the usual rich man cheats on wife deal. Although I would have followed up on it if I were somebody else's wife. But figuring it's the chief's, hey, I trust him to come clean if the missus is related to the right shady deals. This is why I left before they even hauled the woman out last night. I'm not going to go investigating cheating husbands and wife. When it's probably that. Chief appears to have a different idea.
Pleasant in the morning. Anyway, where are you? I told you millions of times before to keep your lines open.
He did, and not only him. Zach, Rebecca, Isabel, all of them have said the same thing numerous times in the past. But I was undercover last night. A phone call is the last thing I want to happen when there are other things I need to focus on at the time. Besides, we have radios and work-issued phones. Why isn't he using those channels?
Just woke
if
up,
they're
sir.
urgent?
As awesome as it is to hear your voice this morning, it really is early. If you could give me a few minutes just to wake myself up, that'd be swell.
No need for that. This won't take long.
Is something wrong? Am I needed at the precinct ASAP?
Oh no, everything's good over there. Just look, kid. Frey. Don't take this personally, alright? You're off the Luxborn firm case. Start today.
Well, I did not expect to hear that either. This must be some kind of cosmic joke. I'll allow some awkward seconds to pass. Chief must be pulling another one of his awful pranks. Out of his bad mood or severe hangover maybe. Everyone knows that when given the chance he exercised no control with thinking. If it wasn't for his wife causing a stir, he'd probably be trashed an hour in at the party. Likely drink more after they threw her out of the ballroom. Besides, his sense of humor has never been good. It's just infuriating most of the time. But when he doesn't follow it up... If I sound a tiny bit frustrated speaking to my own superior, I'm not the one to blame.
Wait, no. What? Are you kidding, Chief? Is this one of your practical jokes again? The Temps won't say anything about it, but I...
It's not that. They're orders. From the higher-ups.
Ah, the higher-ups. Yes, my favorite word. Since when did the higher-ups ever cared about the criminal investigation department did? As far as I could tell, they don't give a hoot if CID is filled with cold cases as long as we keep spending the low. When I need to view those old case files, though, they're locked away in the archives. You're gonna have to check with the higher-ups. I need access to these reports, see if the higher-ups would allow it. Every step, every move in this case, there isn't one that hasn't been gated by some authority. If it's not the chief, it's the commissioner, so they always tell me. It makes one wonder why they even bothered assigning it to anyone. Not a single one of them has done anything to help move the case. And they wonder why it has taken this long for even a hint of progress to show.
You can't just drop this on me. You can't just take me off like that.
Yes, I can. And I'm sorry, Ashton. You're a good detective. One of the best I've seen in years, but
3 years, Chief. 3 years!
3 years since the anonymous tech leak blew up, since Luke Wright's name was openly linked to several nasty dealings within Luxborn's corporate world, some of them involving death. 3 years, and I was the only one who made it this far. Made much progress that the officers with more experience weren't able to do when they handled this case. Just within a year, and with barely any help from the damn brass at all. Of course, I'll be pissed.
Do you know what would have happened if I didn't work my ass off on this thing? If I didn't dedicate a whole year of my time on it? It would have gone cold, like every fucking case Luke Wright has been linked to. I saved this from getting thrown into the archives, sir. I'm getting close. If you could just...
I'm fully aware of what you've done, Frey, but the Commissioner hasn't been happy with your progress. Still too slow by their standards.
Too slow? Well, what about those reports I filed? I've documented every freaking thing for them. I've given you every important lead I can gather. Isn't that enough?
They need results, not a bunch of research papers. Not one baseless assumption after another. Concrete proof, Frey. I'm really sorry. They've already made a decision. They're going to pass this on to someone who's been in the force longer. Someone who has more experience.
Someone who has more experience?
They meant nothing by it, but you're still too young to work on a case this big.
Chief, I've already done more than what those old farts ever did behind their desks. All of it, within just a year of being assigned to this.
Watch your language, Frey. Those are your superiors,
I'm not some damn rookie fresh out of training. I'm as qualified as they are.
Futile, I know it is. They'd never say it within my earshot, but from the very minute I stepped in their precinct, a lot of them had underestimated me, from their stares alone to the assignments I get. To them, I'm still just a kid, too young, too green, too inexperienced. And once they pull that card on me, every argument I have gets thrown out the window. No matter how logical it is, how much I've accomplished, what the record says, or the amount of work I've put in every investigation, they've thrown my way.
We're all aware of your skills, kid. You wouldn't have that badge and rank if you weren't good enough. However, this case is just not for you. Too high profile, too risky to put a good officer like you in harm's way.
Can he even hear himself? That reasoning is odd in itself. No one joins this line of work without knowing
Don't
the
I get a
dangers
second chance? You said it yourself. I'm a good detective. It'll just be a matter of time before we can close this.
It doesn't matter what I think, Frey. You're off the case, and that's final. I expect all related files and documents on my desk by Monday morning. And don't even try to go touch anything. I know how hard-headed and determined you are.
Chief, please. A few more weeks. I'll have the proper evidence left on your desk by then. I swear it won't take longer than that.
Fred, it's too late, boy. I've already informed the other officers. You aren't to be allowed access until you've been given a new assignment. Hell, just keep out of the precinct, Frey. Take the weekend off.
Seriously, Chief, is this about last night? If this is about me being at that party, I have a good reason for...
You were at the party.
This makes me pause. His wary tone, the sudden careful note in his voice. Slowly a frown forms in my face, my eyebrows knitting together and confusing. As much as I hate to say this about my own boss, there's also suspicion in it. Yeah, because this is all intertwined. Luke Wright, the chief, Rochelle, Hannah Wright, the house, the hauntings, all of this is connected together. All of this is just a conspiracy. Gotta bust this case wide open. Hard not to think of it the way, seeing how he acted around Hannah Wright last night. Is he worried? Why should he be? everyone who's anyone was invited. I didn't doubt for a second why he received an invite, even if his presence was questionable. There's something wrong, and I've unintentionally walked into it. Yeah, obviously there's something wrong here. All I have is a sneaking suspicion, but when one looks at this from a different angle, put everything together, why the hell I've been taken off the case might be for the same reason he was there in the first place. Fuck.
Yes, Chief, I was. For a good reason. A friend invited me to go with her. What were you doing there? I know we don't have a strict rule against attending functions, but that was...
He coughs and almost sounds like he's choking on his own excuses, lies. I don't want to accuse him of anything, yet he's someone I've respected since I joined LPD, even with his bizarre sense of humor and tendency to procrastinate. He's obviously competent enough to get the job done. He wouldn't be the chief inspector of Luxborn Police if he wasn't. He wouldn't last years in service without some track record backing him. Unless that too is a fluke. What's backing him is not something, but someone. Oh shit. Fucking hell. Fucking shit.
Chief Harvey, about last night with the...
Why does it matter, Frey? This isn't about that.
Why does it matter? Why does it matter? I'll recite the whole damn oath we've taken upon being sworn into the service if I can, but at this point it seems too late to remind him of that. He's probably already moved from serving and protecting people to serving and protecting his own interests. Damn it. I suspected the upper brass of this, even the lower rank subordinates in the force, but from my own boss? Shit, no wonder that leak didn't lead anywhere. Someone closer might have been pulling the strings. I might have been set up to fail long before this fucking case had been assigned to me. But I don't want to just give this up. I don't want to believe I've wasted an entire year for this. No, this is our breakthrough. I don't want this to be the kind of news to tell Professor Clark after all those promises I've given the man.
I just want to know, sir, at the party, with Luke and Hannah Wright, you were...
Monday, Detective Inspector. First thing in the morning.
No, we're not doing that
Every
anymore.
copy of the files you have, I want to see it all on my table, understood?
He's gonna get rid of
This isn't...
Frey, am I understood?
He's gonna get rid of all of the evidence that we have worked our ass off for this entire year. He's gonna destroy it all, and this whole thing's gonna go cold. Every single lead, everything involving the house, the hauntings, shit, all this other stuff with the chief and Luke and Hannah Wright and the chief's wife. All of this is connected somehow, some way. We have to figure this shit out. Unless if like the you know, this being is somehow trying to tell me by killing me, I don't know, that these people are bad. I don't know. What else can I do other than smile and nod? With my own superior expecting an answer, using that tone, brushing my questions off as easy as discarding a dead body.
Yes, sir.
No, we're not gonna do that. He cuts the line as soon as the words are out. You're off the case, Frey, just like that. Funny why this still caught me off guard. I've discovered years ago how different the actual thing is, how far from reality everything I've believed in as a dreamy-eyed kid. There are no high-speed pursuits every day, no thrilling gunfights or exciting cases every step of the way. Only paperwork, lots of red tape, and dealing with the politics and bureaucracy. I've set out to change things, hoping it'll make things better for the people I care about. It ended up changing me instead. Serves me right for being too idealistic, I guess. This is probably the universe telling me that it's better to remain the skeptic I really am. Well, here I am, standing useless, can't even do anything but grit my teeth and kick the wall. The bastard didn't even acknowledge my response.
What did the poor wall ever do to you?
It figures Rebecca would be the one to find me in this embarrassing state. Honestly, I don't like it when she sees me like this, which seems to happen a lot regardless of what I want.
Rebecca, now's not a good time.
concern I expect from her when I turn isn't there, however. Instead, she just looks, well, the storm I left brewing last night is right there on her face, ready to be unleashed.
When is it ever a good time for you? You're always so busy with everything now. Now I find you here, sneaking out without even bothering with a proper goodbye. Not even a word. Really, I'm starting to think you're just keeping me around for my couch and my cooking.
Becca, it's not what you're thinking. I wasn't planning on sneaking out. I was going to say goodbye. I just had to take this call. Although I'm not gonna lie, couch is great. 10 out of 10. Would sleep again.
Stop it with the jokes, Ashton.
Yeah, Ashton.
I'm not in the mood.
Fucking, just, let's come clean here. Bitterness is not lost to me, but at this point in our friendship and our lives, how does she still expect me to answer that? What am I supposed to tell her now?
Are you still mad about last night?
She merely raises an eyebrow at me, which, to be honest, is all the response I need. Seeing her like this makes me believe those things Z-Man says, the part where Rebecca scares him sometimes. I've certainly seen this more than once already. But the familiarity of it doesn't really take away from the downhill turn this conversation's starting to take. Only an awkward cough serves as a way to stall. Wow.
Okay, of course you're still mad. But whatever happened last night, I really am sorry. I'll apologize as many times as you want. If you want, I'd even kneel or something.
Ashton, an apology is nice and all, but that's not what I wanted to hear from you today.
Alright, fine, okay. Where do you want to start?
Oh, I don't know. I've honestly lost track of it by your third trip to the buffet table.
I wasn't... The drive up there took a bit. Can you blame me if I wanted to grab some appetizers?
Oh, come
my
on,
God.
Ash! For the whole evening? For the whole party? Please don't tell me that's all you did, because I've never known you as someone who pigs out. You even took great lengths to avoid me. Should I also mention how you ignored Zach? Sometimes I get the feeling you don't want to be seen with us in public. Some friendship, huh?
You know it's not like that. It's never going to be like that, Becca.
Maybe you even just used me to get into the party. You said yes to being my +1, but you were rather excited to just peel yourself off, weren't you? Honestly, I'm feeling a bit used.
Couldn't even look her in the eye. It wasn't that I lied to her. I honestly wanted to be there to keep Zach safe, to keep Rebecca safe. Just in case. Client or family friend, it was still a party hosted by a person of interest, by a man accused years ago of murdering a person's wife to get what he wanted. But then Chief showed up, Hannah Wright happened, and Luke Wright just couldn't be bothered to die peacefully somewhere. All of a sudden, none of my original reasons mattered. If I was found out right then and there, hell, if Rebecca and Zach and Rebecca's connection with me was found out, who knows what would have happened. But Rebecca doesn't understand that, doesn't understand what I can and can't say to keep them from harm. It's all in her eyes and the tight line of her lips and her furrowed brows. The hurt.
I'll ask this again. Just what were you up to during the party? What were you doing that you couldn't even take 2 seconds to make time for your friends?
This day is just off to a wonderful start. First my case, now Becca. How do I even go about this? Stretch the truth or insist it's confidential? Who cares? Who cares? I'm off the case. I've wasted so much time, and I just get booted because someone higher position than me says I'm off the case. Stop it. Just because you're higher up than me doesn't mean you know that you have all the answers in the world, alright? Doesn't mean you're more qualified than me. Doesn't mean you have as much knowledge about whatever the case may be, or as much willpower or anything else like that. So just stop it. Obviously, I couldn't just say, hey Becca, you know the rights. They're suspected to be ringleaders of a crime syndicate and shit like that. No, but you don't have to be, you know, a prick about it. Protocol, or other words, there are many things I'm not allowed to tell the others. Even if I am able to share information with civilians, knowing anything could very well put them in danger. It's That's why I keep it vague, obscure the facts, or when push comes to shove, stretch the truth and lie through my teeth. It's a necessity I've grown to deal with and I've become a part of. No, I don't want to say it's confidential though. I don't want either of those options. I really, really don't. Just, we're off the fucking case. Who gives a shit? Well, I guess we're going with this. No matter how much I love
I mentioned it, didn't I? I saw an old friend and I thought I'd catch up.
God.
Didn't really notice how long our chat got. You know what they say about time flying when you're having fun. And Lloyd is a fun guy.
Well, we're gonna end it there. Shit, maybe I should have picked the other option. But just saying I can't tell you it's confidential is a bullshit answer. I'm not off the case. Who cares? Who even cares about this job anymore? Literally. Busted 1/3 of my entire career here. What do I get for it? Absolute nothing. And if this is all connected between the chief inspector, whoever the higher ups are, maybe even the commissioner, Luke and Hannah Wright, all this stuff, it's all connected. Who cares about my protocol anymore? It does not matter. And I've wasted all of this time. So the least I can do is tell somebody that I've known for years and years and years, who is one of my greatest friends and somebody that knows the ins and outs and the intricacies of me, and obviously who, you know, loves me. We don't know that though. Ashton doesn't know that. Us viewers do. I at least owe her that. But we will wait till the next episode. Hopefully y'all enjoyed, and I'll see you later.